You know, how can a company that can make a keyboard that sounds like this also provide the absolute worst bags imaginable on the face of this planet? Like, it's so bad that it's comical. Or are they doing this on purpose? Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Scott K. Once upon a time, there was a company called Owlab. They made some of the most coveted premium keyboards as of late. Then that company, it decided to create a spin-off brand, right, called Keys that brought out more approachable keyboards to more beginners. Instant hit. Then more recently, the same company decided to bring out even more approachable keyboards, right? Dare I say, entry, that focused on the basics of typing and sound. And that is the NEO lineup from Keys. Now, I really don't think I could actually call any of these NEO boards entry. The previous NEO 80, probably one of the best typing keyboards, regardless of price. And now, Keys is back with the latest NEO board, the Ergo. Yes, it's a tilted or tented ergonomic keyboard, and in some ways, it goes toe-to-toe against the big bros. Let's get started. So the NEO Ergo is exactly that. It's an ergonomic keyboard, which means that it's angled, right, in both different directions. Helps put your hands in a more natural position. They take it one step further by tilting or tenting it, making it even more natural and conforming. What you get is a keyboard focused on typing, and typing comfortably. The wild thing about this keyboard though is that it features pretty much like all of the latest innovations you have seen in like the previous Keys, as well as even the Owlab keyboard so far, which I will demonstrate. Like the other NEO boards, the Ergo also comes in like many different flavors. That also includes like the componentry that goes inside that you could choose from as well. So if you take a look at like the plate, for example, I have three here: the stiff and crisp carbon fiber plate, the familiar soft palm plate, and finally the latest, the super soft polypropylene plate. You can opt for like the other classics as well, like aluminum, FR4, and polycarbonate. Yes, since this is a tented Ergo design, the plates are actually separate. They have the left and the right. This separation also continues with the PCB as well. You got a standard 1.6mm PCB here, which does have better sound than like the thin 1.2. Familiar white NEO finish with the NEO lettering. It has south-facing KO hot swap sockets, and yes, I still have issues with KO sockets. Come on, KO. It's got a 1000 Hz polling rate. While it doesn't have per key RGB, it does have accent LEDs down like the center of the two PCB pieces, which I will show you later. But the highlight of this PCB is actually below, the magnetic quick connection. Yes, like the previous QK and Owlab boards, this has also trickled into the NEOs as well. Very, very convenient. As you'd expect, you do have the option of like going with the standard solder or like the standard hot swap or the tri-mode Bluetooth and 2.4 GHz wireless like this one is. Like the previous NEO series, the Ergo also comes with lots of foam. But honestly, none of this foam is needed since the NEO keyboards, they're actually designed to be great without any of it. You could use it if you want to, but you don't have to. It's only for sound shaping. Now, let's go to the main event then, the case. This is a gorgeous case, and the manufacturing and the finish, it's pretty immaculate, right? I think that's what we could expect from Keys at this point, especially for something at this price point. Yeah, and so what is the price then? Well, the NEO Ergo will start at $130. That is an excellent price for a keyboard of this caliber. While you can choose from like 13 different colors, I do have the navy anodized version. There's like ano, there's also spray. There's very nice and deep blue. Found no issues with the ano at all. It's very smooth and even. While the look is great, what about everything else? Well, bam. Remember this thing? Yes, it also has the ball and catch release mechanism, which means that you don't need any tools to assemble or disassemble this thing. It's so quick and so easy. Probably one of the best things that's happened to keyboards as of late, honestly. Here is a closer look at also the magnetic quick connection that I talked about before. As you can see, the inside of this case is very clean, right? Since it does have a cover weight that QK calls a kernel that keeps everything contained below, like stuff like battery, right? Daughter board, wires. It makes everything just super clean inside, and I'm sure it also helps with acoustics as well. Overall, this is a very well thought out and functional case design. How the PCB mounts into the case also is very interesting. But before we get into that, let's take a look below. So this weight, it's customizable. You get to choose from like 7 different options. The one I have here with the navy is the copper. The badge in the center, yep, that's also customizable. 4 different options in this situation. I think you get the point here. The NEO has a lot of different customization capability. All right, let's get to building this guy then, shall we? So for the first build, I will demonstrate the complete foam build since there are still a lot of people that do love foam, that marbly sound. Plus, I decided to get the most deep and marbly by using the softest plate in the situation as well, the polypropylene plate. This is what it looks like overall. Well, how does this thing then mount into the case? Well, the Ergo is actually gasket mounted, but the gaskets here are very unique. Instead of like standard pour-on strips or silicone jackets or socks, it also uses these super long strips and these weird little elbows. So the long strips fit into the inner mounting tabs of the PCB, and the elbows will slip into the outer edges. Wait, onto the PCB? Yes, it also means the Ergo can be a PCB mounted keyboard. The construction of this is pretty simple. You like literally plug the switches into like the plate and the PCB, and you can just drop it into the case. Then like the magnets, like they do their thing, right? Speaking of switches, I decided to bring out some classic Gateron cream soda switches, which I haven't used in a while, but still one of the greats in my opinion. So this is what it looks like when you drop everything in and you like place the case down on top of it, the upper case, you just press it down and it just snaps right in. Like literally that's it. For keycaps, I decided to use a set of Kinetic Labs whale keycaps. I feel that like the colorway, it works perfectly, and plus is one of the sets that actually comes with space bars and extra keycaps for an Alice or Arisu style keyboard like this. And yes, this is one with the arrows on the right, so more convenient. So yes, if you put all the foams in it, it will sound foamy. That PE sheet especially will do that. But even among the foamy keyboards, there are some that sound really good, and there's ones that sound just super foamy and meh. This one, in my opinion, is one that sounds good. So that had me thinking, what about against their flagship? Yeah, remember this guy right here? This is the Owlab Spring. It's essentially on top of the food chain when it comes to like the QK NEO Owlab boards. So how does this compare in sound? Let's check it out. You know, they do sound a little bit different. I think the Spring still has a little bit more oomph to it, like more hit. But you know what? The NEO hangs with it pretty admirably. And guess what? The Spring was $400, 3 times more than the NEO. So now, what about for those that don't like foam? I know there's a lot of you guys out there too. Can the NEO Ergo truly pull off a good sound without any foam? Well, we could try, right? So for this build, I decided to remove all the foam and go bare. I used the stiffest CF plate and took everything else out, like all the foam and stuff like that. So the same switches and stuff as before, but just no foam and carbon fiber plate. I know you probably also might be wondering, wait, does the NEO Ergo flex? Well, check it out yourself. Even with the stiffest plate, the carbon fiber plate, the Ergo does have a nice give to it. So it does flex. How about the sound? Honestly, I think this is the build that you should be going for. It has a very nice and crisp sound, not overly clacky or thocky. It's a very neutral kind of sound. No foaminess, well, because there's no foam in it. And for me, this is the perfect combination. And for me, I intend to keep it like this. All right, the keyboard is great, but there are some weirdness to it that I do have to mention as well, right? I think every keyboard has some of that. First of all, the lights. Yes, it has lighting on the PCB and uses these weird little diffusers as well to diffuse the light. However, it just looks really strange. I also feel like you may end up like touching it as you type when the keys are pressed. The diffusers do work because without the diffuser, the light does kind of scatter everywhere pretty hardcore. However, for me, I'd rather just turn the lights off and just not use the diffuser. That's my 2 cents. The other thing is that the switch for the wireless is actually inside the keyboard. I know it's like a quick, easy release upper case, but you still do have to rip the case off to get to the switch to turn it on or off for the wireless PCB. I mean, I would rather have it, accessible without doing that. So the NEO Ergo, what are my final thoughts? If you're in the market for like a wrist-saving ergonomic keyboard, this is it, guys. For a safe price of 130 starting, you get one of the best designed ergos in the market without like breaking the bank. I know there's some quirks to it, so obviously but overall, like you get the most comprehensive keyboard with the performance to match at a price that's like cheaper than a set of GMK keycaps at this point. And given QK's track record with keyboards, I think this is a pretty safe bet. Plus, if you're also wondering, can I use a wrist rest with this? Yes, and QK actually sells the matching one to the NEO Ergo for like 20 bucks or something like that. I have the matching one for the Spring, and trust me, it's definitely worth it. And yes, you have a dizzying array of different combinations and prices accordingly. You have this chart. And check all this information on the link provided below if you're interested. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I will have more content for you in the future. I'm also working on the Korea stuff that I promised you before, so that is coming, so stay tuned. Thank you.